Hi guys, Tiffany here. Sorry for that. I didn't think it would come on that fast. Welcome to my quilting life. If you're new to my channel, I'm not sure which way it is now because I'm on a different device. Head down there, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, get notifications when I'm live, and like my videos. Yeah, it's morning. It's like almost 9 a.m. and I really just need to sew. I can't sit around any longer. And I'm going to do this without covering my face. So there's going to be a lot of coughing involved. Because covering my face is just going to make me feel weird. I did it the other night with a bandana and it just doesn't work right for me. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah. So, Mocha Dreams Quilt, just like the little thumbnail. I took a picture of it. Much of a picture. I'm going to put the borders on this, which I made in my last video, which are these. I need to fold this now into 4 pieces and cut it. And it's going to be mitered borders, as I shown, and I'm going to get them sewn onto here. This quilt is 72 by 72 right now, and it needs to be bigger, but it doesn't matter if it stays perfectly square as long as I can make it bigger. So I'm going to cut this open, or open this probably over there, and I could take the camera now around with me anywhere in the room. And I'm going to open it up and cut it into 4 pieces. So let's do that. And I'll just take the camera around with me as I go. So I'm just going to come over here to that side of the room. And I'm actually just going to use scissors for this part. I'm going to find both ends like this. And I'm just going to fold it into 4 equal parts. So I'm just going to lay the 2 pieces up here, instead of getting tangled up in it. The reason for this is it's a completely square quilt. If it wasn't completely square, I would need 2 borders on the side rather than the top and bottom to do a mitered border. And there's plenty extra border here, so I'll have scrapped over for whatever. But all right. Take this end over to here. So this is the only folded end I'll have to cut on this side, and then this other side over here will get cut as well, just like that. So I'm going to hold it right here, and I have 2 ends being cut on the side. This is probably not the most accurate way to do this, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Like that. And then I'll come over to this end and cut this. So I'll have 4 equal pieces, which is all I need. So let's turn that camera back around right there so that you can watch how this works. I'll even show the cutting of them after I attach. We're going to start with one side and then work our way around. So I'm going to lay this right here, because this is right up here. And I'm going to grab one of those border pieces, and I'm going to lay it over about 5 or no, this should be about 6 inches. Let's see how wide this is. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. So I'm going to lay it over about 6 inches, which should be about this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So we're going to lay it over about right here. And I'm going to put it right sides together like this. And I'm making sure real quick, because remember I said one of my colors is darker than the other. It looks like this is the darker color, so that's okay if it's on the outside. I'm going to throw a pin in here, like so. And I'm going to come down and make sure that the other side hangs over as well. And it does way a lot. Okay, good. Like I said, I will have excess. I just want my original start pin to hang. And I'm just gonna pull this up here, and you guys will get to see it up close, because I could scoot the camera back further, but I should actually put it up on something, honestly. I don't see anybody watching, so let me put it up on something, and it shouldn't matter. This video will be here afterwards too. For those that don't get to watch it live, let me find something to rise it up a little. Use this. And I'll use that to tell what I'm doing. There we go. That should be good right there. As long as I don't knock the whole thing down. Okay. So I'm going to start, and this is how mitered corners work. There's a couple different ways. So far I've done it like 3 different ways for mitered borders. There's probably more ways for like perfect, accurate measuring and so on and so forth, but there's 3 different ways I have done this. I'm just going to do it the most simple it comes to me way, and that's going to be by, once this is hanging over the adequate amount that it needs to hang over, I'm going to come in from this corner on the quilt top itself 1/4 of an inch in, so about right there, 1/4 of an inch in, and that's where I'm going to put my needle down and start sewing. And then I will sew 1/4 inch seam the whole way down. So if you don't know where that is, you can either mark it, or like right now, I'm just going to put the pin right down there at 1/4 inch, slide it under, put my needle down right there, and that's where I need to start. Other than that, don't need any more pinning or anything, at least I don't. And we're going to see how much this shakes while on here. And I don't know how loud this will be either, because I don't have any special microphones blocking sound. So I have a good stitch length. And now I'm just going to stitch all the way down. And I just align it as I go, because I have a big bunch on my lap. I should have covered my face, but I don't really want to tie a bandana around my face right now, like at all. So I'm just going to try to keep it nice, accurate as best as possible, 1/4 inch seam. I do have my seam guide on, my little magnetic one, so that should be good. Should be 100% accurate for this long seam. And this piece was made with 2.5 inch strips on each side of a 1 inch black strip in the middle. So from the back side, it looks completely closed off, but there's actually a black strip in there. And this is totally not my normal time, so I'm assuming that is why nobody's here for live chat. It is now, Saturday. Like I said, I can't just sit around anymore. I'll deal with the coughing, I guess, for now. I'm just gonna keep lining this up, sewing on down. And once I get this side on, it actually doesn't matter what side you go to next. If every side is started with it at a 1/4 inch in. So it honestly doesn't matter if you do top, bottom, side to side, or top side, bottom side. It doesn't matter. It's just as long as they get all attached. The same exact way all the way around. And when I get to this end, which I'm almost at, I will be stopping a 1/4 inch of the way from the edge. So now that I'm coming to it, let me push that down. Try and look at the screen to make sure you can see. I'm going to take a needle. I'm going to come where I think it's a 1/4 inch, about right here. Oops. And that will be my line where to stop. Come just about right there. And then I'll back stitch and front stitch. So I've stopped a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So there's my 1/4 inch, and I'm stopped away from the edge. So now I can just turn it like this, open that up like that, and I'm going to grab another border, and I'm going to start a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So I'm pretty much going to start at the junction. So let me grab another piece. Back to this. And we're going to try for this light and dark thing and make sure that all the lights are ending up in the middle. And that's what it looks like. I mean, there's really no difference, but there sort of is at the same time. I have seams right here at the end. I don't want those to end up in it right here in the mitered seam. So what I'm going to do is put them beyond that piece right here, just like that. So they're right beyond it. And now I actually have a place to drop my needle, which is right here. So I'm just going to use my finger to press that seam back so that I can see through the fabric under the light where my needle needs to go down. Right there. And I'm going to take a stitch forward and a stitch back, and then go a 1/4 inch all the way down this side now. And if I open this, since I'm beyond it, I may have one stitch too far, but that's okay because I just have to go like this, the seam ripper, and take out that one stitch. So there we are, they meet up. Which is no big deal because I'm going to be reinforcing everything once I get the whole entire thing on all the way around the border. I don't know why I just called it a thing. Most people just like measure accurately, but I don't. I just kind of put it on. It seems easier for me. And I think it should be for everybody that does mitered borders. Just put them on. If you do it accurately when you get to the corners and you go to put them together, that's the part that really matters. Hi, Sue. Hi, Gloria. Hi, Misty. Sorry, guys. I decided to go on without covering my face, so I'm I'm gonna need to cough a bazillion times doing this, but I can't sit around anymore. I need to sew. Enjoy your teaching. Awesome, thank you. I enjoy teaching. And I probably teach bad habits with the whole not pinning and, 100% accurate stuff, but I don't know. I think things line up. If they're going to line up, they're going to line up. Pins or no pins. And this mitered borders really aren't that hard. They're actually quite easy once you get the hang of it and do it more than once, which I have, because mitered borders is one thing I like to do on quilts, especially with very busy fabrics and or striped fabrics. I love a mitered border made out of stripes. And if you hear vibration at all from the phone, those are my notifications. I don't know how to turn it off during a live stream, unfortunately. So if I get a phone call or anything, hopefully it doesn't interrupt my live streaming. So I'm coming to this next one, and I'm just going to actually use my fingernail to put a crease 1/4 inch away. You can use a pin. I just use my fingernail. And here's another one with 1/4 inch away. You can see that right there. So now starting the next. So I'm kind of just going all the way around this whole thing, as you can tell. I'm just going to finger press out here, facing out, so that I know where to start my next seam. So I'm going to grab another piece. Lay it on here. I'm coming beyond the piece that's on there, so I need to be beyond it. So it could be this close if you want it. Can you see that? Please tell me that's not messed up. Says I'm good. Okay. I was just hoping it's not messed up. Okay. There might be too many TVs and stuff on in my house at the same time. So, okay, as long as the piece that you're putting on now is longer than the original, it could be by 1 inch, it could be by more than that, as long as it's longer, because we need to be able to create a mitered corner. So when that's folded back, however much longer, that they will meet up and create one continuous corner, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to put this in here, lay this on. I'm going to put my crease right there, because that's telling me where my 1/4 inch seam is starting. That way I put my needle down right in the exact spot this time. Right there. One stitch forward, one stitch back, and go on down. I have to keep some of this on the table. That's the only thing. I hope this is not an ended video. I'm going to turn it to the front facing camera because I can't pay attention to this if more than one device is running. This is retarded. Okay. It's not letting me view more than one camera at a time. They're both just as clear quality. That works just fine. It's kind of sucky that this is not. I should have just went with the other way, because that way I don't have issues. Knocking all this stuff out of the way. Oh, look, we have more. We have Vicky. Gloria's there. Free pattern for the quilt. Yes, there is a pattern for the quilt that I'm working on. It's called Mocha Dreams. It's like 3-part video, technically 4 now, because I made the rest of the borders. All those will go into the links description, the description link after the video, when I get a chance to add all those videos into there. Hi, Debsy. I know this is not normal hours for me to be on, guys. I'm not usually on in the mornings, but I just can't sit around and not do anything, so I need to sew. All right, so see, that one came out perfect. Can you see right there? They lined up just right. So I'm just going to sew this on, and then we'll have one more after this one's on. I have a nice, wonderful, twisted piece just sitting on my lap. Yes, I made this into a video series. There's a couple videos, and if you can't find it any other way, it's in, there's always playlists of there's a playlist that says patterns I've designed. It's in there. It's called Mocha Dreams. It would probably look good in any color and not just be good as mocha. My best friend chose the name, so that's what it's gonna stay. I missed how you did a corner. I'll bring up the camera in 2 seconds and I'll show you. I'll put the camera up here so that you guys can see how close it comes. My hair is everywhere. Okay, remember, I'm not 100% with how well this is going to work live being like this, but I'll turn the camera around like that and let you guys watch from here while live. If I can't get it to stay. There we go. Stay right there. Okay. So I'm going to come down and watch me sew the whole thing. I probably should have did this angle the whole time, but I have a feeling that it's really loud for you guys to listen to the machine. Camera literally right on top. All right, so I'm getting close to it, the corner. Is it in the screen frame yet? Nope. All right, so here's a corner. I'm going to just pull it up right here. You see there's the end right there. We're going to stop a 1/4 inch away before that end. So let me get a little bit closer. Is it in the frame now? Yes. Okay. So you can either mark it a 1/4 inch away. All right. I don't know what is going on here. So it's here. I'm come up real close. All right. So I'm going to try to explain this because I put it up as close as I could. I'm going to take when this is on top and come a 1/4 inch edge. So I brought this right to the edge of this. And we're going to find a 1/4 inch mark, which would be right here. So if I was to take it off, it would be right there on the top, like so. And I'm going to stop my needle right when I come to that spot. So I'm going to probably have to come over just a little. And if you look, if you pick it up and look, you see under there, I am a 1/4 inch away from the edge. So now I'm just going to backtrack. And we're going to pull that out. And it should be 1/4 inch away from the edge. See? So when I go to start the next, which I will show you, we're going to bring it up here so that you can see how this works. I guess you get this direction. I wasn't thinking of telling everyone to stop using the TVs and stuff around the house while I do this, because normally nobody else is on. It let me resume the video. This is why it's still where I am. So I'm going to finger press this back right here. So you see how I have a 1/4 inch away, and try not to pull or tug on that because we don't want it to come undone. That's why I backstitch. I'm going to grab that last and final piece. I'm hoping not to knock the camera down when I'm at this. Okay, here's my last piece. I'm going to lay it above, so that you guys can see how this works. I'm going to lay it above that, so it's passing it just a little bit. That's how we know it's above, but it's at least 5 or 6 inches above. So this is 5 inches wide, so I need 5.5, 6 inches right here above that other piece. So then let's put this back right here and hope that it doesn't cut out again. We're going to attempt this here. There's a lot of moving around today, guys, because I'm not used to this yet, being able to be live from any device again. So I'm going to lay this on here, keeping that nice and flush. I'm going to lay that above it. You see? So I'm laying it above it, and I'm going to start this seam right here. See, you can't see through the fabric, but you can feel it right there. And if you need a visual guide, use your fingernail to put a crease right where you're going to start and drop your needle. So then you're going to lift your presser foot and you're going to drop that needle right in at that crease, just like so. And then I'm going to take one stitch forward and one stitch back. And I can't see the comments too well right now, guys, because I can only have one device running, it looks like, at a time, which is so weird because when I use the computer, I don't need to worry about that, but so let me come just a little bit beyond so that you can see. So I'm going to pull this into the screen so that you can see. So I could have went one stitch further back, see? So when I go to close these, right before I close them, I just want one stitch further back so that they meet like exactly. But I always adjust those things when I come to it. So for now, I'm just going to sew this on. Like I said, you'll have to deal with me coughing because I chose to sew without covering my face. I'm not pulling or tugging or anything like that either. I'm just laying my piece on top as it would happen if you were pinning. It would be the same thing. except I can adjust as I go for any kind of, because all of the whole outside of this quilt top was bias until I attached this. So it was very stretchy, if you don't know what the bias is. All right, coming down on the other end. Very soon. And I have to have my guide here, or else I do not sew a straight line, guys, like whatsoever. So there we are. Almost to it. It should be down in the bottom corner. So see, now I'm just going to finger press this one back. See how I press that back with my finger? And you can see where my seam starts and ends. I am going to stop by putting a little mark right here with my fingernail. You can even see that crease that my fingernail just made. And now I'm going to stop sewing on that. And what I'm going to do is move this out of the way so that you can see. Okay, so now it should meet right up. See how it meets right up right there? You can see I'm yanking on my stitch even. All right, now let's get to the next part. So I'm going to bring you guys over here to the cutting table. Give me 2 seconds. Like I said, I cannot see. I have to keep turning this camera around. Okay, so now at the cutting table, this is how this is going to work. Push back some so that we could see. All right, you can see both of them. I'm going to finger press that back. So you can see they line right up right here, but this is not how we want the border, okay? What's going to happen is, I'm going to pull this one on top so that you could see. Folding it back, just like so. It's going to meet up like that. That's a mitered corner for those that are just jumping in. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this piece out. And I'm going to flatten this piece out. And I'm going to take this whole quilt from down here. And I'm going to lay it on top and line it up like so to where both of these pieces are lined up. Both these borders are lined up on top of each other. It doesn't have to be all the way down either, as long as it's lined lined up like that. Okay, nice and lined up. I have a nice angle right here. Everything feels good. Everything's nice and straight. What I'm going to do now, since everything's nice and lined up, and since we're really able to see this now in the camera, and hope that this stays, I'm going to have to use a weight real quick to hold this up on the table so you guys can see. I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to take a ruler that has a 45-degree angle on it. And since this is the one that's right here, I'm going to use it. So I'm going to line my 45-degree angle up at the top of the quilt top, like that. And then I'm going to line this side right here up with the quilt top itself. Now, if you need a taller, longer ruler, grab one. So again, as long as it has the 45-degree angle, which runs right here, you can see that. I'm going to line that 45-degree angle up here, and the whole side of this ruler, the outside that's closest to me, I'm going to line with the quilt top. And due to the fact that I have a pencil and it has a very wide tip, I'm actually going to back it up some by putting my pencil at the edge of this right here. It's where it's at the edge of the quilt top itself, and I am going to draw a line with that pencil across this whole entire piece of fabric. like this. Just like that. Now I'm going to show you really closely. This is how I know this pencil line is right here. I'm going to pop some pins in right here, and I'm going to pop some pins in on this side, and I'm going to sew on this line right here. It comes right into the corner right here, and we'll know that it's correct in just a second. So let's pop some pins in it so that nothing shifts or moves. This is probably the only time I ever really do any pinning is when I do mitered borders. So I'm pinning both sides. Everything is super nice and lined up. I'm not going to shift or move. Just going to move my weight. We're going to take this over to the sewing machine. Right here. Move all that. I'm not moving anything. I'm just taking it to the sewing machine. Like so. And I don't need my thingy for that. Pull the whole quilt up onto the table. And I'm going to come, you can either start at the top of your drawing or you could start at the bottom. I'm just going to start down here at the bottom so that you can see the angle that I'm putting this in. I'm making sure all these seams under here are going the same exact direction, and they are. And I'm going to put my needle down right at that spot where I started my drawing, and I'm going to sew on that line. And I'm back stitching. Everything's lined up. Nothing has shifted or moved. Like this. And I'm going to sew down that line. I can feel right here my seams, because this is a pieced border, are nice and lined up. It's going to be kind of thick, but they're all pressed correctly. If you don't trust it, make sure you check underneath before you start sewing. And sew very slowly. Don't need to be in a rush for this part. On that line, back stitch, and remove all these pins, right? Oops, I dropped that in there. I want to poke myself. I'm going to remove all my pins. I'm going to back this camera up so we can open it and show you how it's supposed to look. All right, backed up. And before I do anything, I don't want to cut anything away just yet. What we're going to do is we're going to open this up like this and see how it lands. So see how I did that? Now this is not 100% perfect right here at the edge, but that's because I have a lot of bulk, because all these seams are both folded in on both sides, you know. But there is a mitered corner like that. Okay. So now that I know it's correct, right after I took those pins out, I take and I cut a 1/4 inch seam all the way down along here. I don't even have a rotary cutter up here. Look at that. I had to hide them the other day. So give me a second to grab one. I'm going to cut. There we go. Right here. Bam. So if you had just only put 6 inches beyond, so if your border's 5 and you put 6 inches, this is all you would have left, is that extra. I had lots left. Like I said, I would have pieces left over, which is okay because I can use all this for something else, and I just throw it over out of the way. So here again is my mitered corner for this one. So there's one way to do it. Okay. Now I'm going to do a different thing on the next one. So we're going to bring this up here so that you can see. Again, our goal is to meet these up right here like this. Okay. That's the goal, is to meet them up to create this angle right there. So what I'm going to do with this one, and everything's nice and lined up, is going to be just a little bit different, but the same. So I'm going to go ahead and finger press right here. pushing it back with my finger. Just, doesn't have to be the whole way down. And again, with this side right here, I just want this area right here nice and flat. And you can press this with an iron if you want or need, but I see no need in it. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this end down here. I'm going to line it up on here. We're going to do this all over again, except I'm going to show you just a little different. I know that first way is quite simple. You just draw with a pencil. This one, it's going to be the same exact thing in a, like a, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. I'm just going to do it the same way, but a little bit different. And you're going to say I'm crazy for doing it this way, but I actually like doing it this way. So everything's lined up. If I was to fold the seam down, all these seams are matching underneath. If it was folded up, it would be matching. Everything's nice and lined up. The next thing I do is making sure that it's nice and lined up. Everything's good. I guess I'll show you this and then I'll go back to the other two the other way so that you could see. Making sure everything's good, all flat, everything. I could feel these two seams lining. Everything's nice. Junction is nice. The next thing I do in a totally different way without the pencil, let's try the bigger ruler again for this. Without marking it with the pencil, I would line up this 45-degree line, same as before. Oops. And I'm totally not even on the cutting mat all the way. So I'm going to line up the quilt along here, line up my 45-degree angle on here, and I need to adjust that just a little right there. This is the same exact thing, except I'm not going to use a pencil this time. So there's that, right? It's all lined up. So normally you would not mark it with the pencil. I would leave a little bit of room. So here would be my pencil mark, and I'm going to mark it anyway, just so you can see all the way from corner to corner like that. So I have my pencil mark, but instead of marking the pencil and sewing on it, just to get it done and out of the way, I actually like to go ahead and line it up, 45-degree angle, lining up my side of my quilt. I actually like to go a 1/4 inch beyond the edge of the quilt right here. So here's the edge of the quilt when it's folded in half. I like to go a 1/4 inch beyond that, pretending that pencil mark didn't even exist, line up my 45-degree angle, and bam, cut it away, So this is already cut off. Now to keep things aligned, just throw 2 pins in right here, like this, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam because it's already cut off. So this is the other way I do it. This usually actually saves me plenty of time because I don't have to draw any lines. I just sew my 1/4 inch seams. So let's take this over back to a sewing machine and hope that I can, since I have a pencil line, I don't have to worry too much, but I would have a guide normally to sew my 1/4 inch seam. And I like back stitching. I like making good, lined up. And I come right into here and back stitching. So when I remove these pins, if I can open the fabric, again, I have a mitered border, like so. And this side, it looks like I kind of took my stitch in a little too far, but that's okay because I just come back right here, find my seam ripper, and on the back side where that 1 stitch is, I would pop that 1 stitch out, just 1 stitch right here. And that should flatten it. It looks like it's 1 extra stitch. Right. There we go. There it is. Now it's flat. I just need to iron it. So there's the other one. So that's without marking it. And that's what I usually do. But marking it's probably better for beginners. So let's go back to marking it and sewing on the line again. Push that out of the way. Okay, so we're going to go for another corner. So here's another corner. We're going to lay this up here. Again, see, it doesn't stick out far. That one doesn't stick out much, see? It's not very far, not very much to do. Everything meets up right here. What I'm going to do is finger press this all back. You can finger press it towards the quilt. It doesn't honestly matter at all. I just needed like a line of reference for flatness, for lining up the seams. So I just finger press it. Okay. So now I'm going to take this end over here and I'm going to grab it far enough down and line it up on top of this one. So we're going to line those again like I've done before. So everything is nice and aligned. Again, making sure everything's flat up here. That's on top of there. That border's on top of there. And this is the best thing to do for pieced borders like this or striped borders. I love a mitered border when it comes to that. I'm going to come right here, make sure that this comes to a point, and it does. All these seams are lining up nicely. Everything's good. I can feel with my finger where I press those seams up. They're flat all the way down. These two, I could feel are flat. So we're going to do the pencil and marking way again and sewing on the line. So I have a nice straight line down the quilt right here. I'm going to use a weight again to hold the quilt up here on the table. And obviously I have a little bit of not so much room right there. I'm going to find the 45-degree line. I'm going to line it up along the top like so. And then I'm going to line the side of the ruler up with the quilt top. So once that is equal, bring it over just like this. I'm going to take my pencil. I'm going to leave room for my pencil. You can't see on this back side, but it literally ends at the end of the quilt. And I could probably use to go over just a smidge. And I am going to mark my line. And it typically stops and starts at the corner anyway, right here at this seam. And then I'm going to throw some pins in it. Just like this. On both sides is where I want my pins, on both sides of my drawn line. And then you start sewing all the way up here. Now I don't know why I do, but I always just sew from the end, you know, beyond the seam, as long as my seam junction right here, where those two pieces meet up, where that string is, you could see, of the black thread. I sew beyond that. It catches my corner. I don't know why. You shouldn't though. You're supposed to just sew from that seam right there beyond. So just so that you guys know from where your stitches end. So from there out, I always sew the corner because when I press it, it lays, I don't know, to me it lays nice. So now that that's there, let's turn the camera one more time up here so that you can see. I hope this is helping you guys with mitered borders. This is what I really was hoping to have finally be able to record an up close and personal view. So this time I'll start my stitching, even though I don't normally, but you guys can. I think it's probably best. I'm going to start my stitching where that stops right there. I'm going to start my stitching on my line right there. So I'm going to put my needle down on my line at that stitch, my back stitch, forward stitch and back stitch, and then stay on my line the rest of the way. And I'm meeting up these seams again, making sure everything's nice. Staying on my line, nice and slow. And take the pins out, but before you cut anything, you want to open it to make sure. Open right here. Oh my goodness, come on. I'm going to open it to make sure that your mitered corner is good, and it is. See? So I have a nice mitered corner, my corner right here, everything's stitched right to the edge. That's where I say starting and stopping the stitch, but I always go beyond on the back side and just grab, you know, the seam right here. I don't know, it's just a pressing thing for me, I guess. So let's back this up. I'm just going to lay it right here. I don't even have to lay it straight this time. I just need to be able to cut away with a 1/4 inch seam allowance from where I stitched. So I'm just going to lay my 1/4 inch seam line from the ruler and just cut across. So there's that one, and I think I have one more corner to do. So there's that, my leftovers. Throw it out of the way. And we have one more left to do. So here, I'll show you how it's finished. Let me just finger press that back actually. And before adding the next border, see how there's a dog ear right there? Before adding the next border, I do trim those off. See how nice it lays? Look at that, nice and flat. Everything meets up. I mean, it's not 100% perfect because of the way my seams were pressed. I could have opened one way and one the other, but it's kind of hard when you're touching from the back sides like that. Plus it looks cleaner. So let's find this last. Oh, that one's already done. Did I do all 4 already? I know I did not. That one's done. Aha, I knew I didn't do all 4. All right, let's bring this up here one more time. And this time I'm not going to pencil. I'm just going to do the thing I do when I am in kind of like an almost hurry. So I just finger press, my finger press. The other way to do this properly is to measure exactly however wide the border is beyond on both sides, knowing your just like in any other border, knowing your width and length of the quilt, measuring exact size borders plus 5 inches if it's a 5 inch, plus 6 inches if it's 6. That way it meets up exactly at the end. I don't really care for that method, because then you have to be 100% every time. So I think this way is just as good. All right, so I'll finger press back. So I'm going to grab down here, fold these on top of each other, just like so. And there is it's hard to mess it up. So see, I'm going to purposely fold this over. You can see all these wrinkles. You know it's not correct. It's hard to really purposely or even accidentally not line this up. So mitered borders aren't really that hard, honestly. So again, I'm going to line these up. They should, once your quilt top is folded, if you have reference points like seams, you know, it makes it so much easier. I'm going to feel for these. I'm going to make sure this is good up here. Everything's flat, nice and flush, nice and flush. Everything's flat. Put weight up here to hold this because it is kind of awkward hanging off the table like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and line my 45-degree up on here like this. And then I'm also going to come a 1/4 inch beyond my quilt top. This is just the easy way for me. I come a 1/4 inch beyond, like, let's get that right. There we go. And I will cut it away before even doing anything. And this one was actually right to the edge, if you see that. I don't say for beginners to do that. I would say for a beginner to mark it with a pencil. But I've been doing this a while because like I said, I learned mitered borders right away in the beginning. And I've tried it all sorts of different ways from all sorts of different people that show it online. And I find this way the easiest. Okay, so let's one more time take this over to the sewing machine. And again, I'm just going to sew down this. And I could start at this corner, or I could start however, honestly. Markings now. I'm just sewing a 1/4 inch seam, and I'll stop right here when I come to my sewing mark, and then I always go beyond it, but I'm going to stop at it so I can show you guys the iron difference. Okay, so there's that. It has now been sewn. So when I open it up, again, I have a nice mitered border, just like that. So, and if you have any puckers, like just barely, just go back to the back of the seam and pluck a stitch or 2 out. It just depends on how messed up it is. Once it's pressed, sometimes that goes away. So let me turn on the iron. I'll put the camera up so I can see you guys for a little bit. I'm going to turn the iron on so that I can make myself even hotter in here. And then I'll press these and hold it up for you guys to look. And then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the other borders. That way you know where I'm heading with this quilt. And I'm going to go scroll through the comments in a second while this warms up. I don't know how I'm going to do that from face screen, but we'll see. It's probably going to be really, really small to see. Let's leave that right there. So let's see. Let's see who's here. It says 19 of you. Wow, that's a lot of scrolling. I don't know. Well, I see that there's a lot of you here. Tiffany, great teacher. Okay, I made it up here a little. Glad you could make it. Okay, so we got Vicky and Deb and Kim and Vicky and Anne and Yvonne and Vivian. Watching. We got Vicky, Kim. Let's see. I'm trying to read your guys' comments. We got the other Vicky. Moving the camera so we can see. Yes, I'm going to give it a try. So me being able to move the camera, even though it's like all over the place today, sorry guys, until I get used to something again, because I haven't done this in a while. Congratulations. Sandy got 1,000 subscribers already. Wow, congratulations, Sandy. Poor Man Sewing, if you guys didn't know who that was. I just saw that. Congrats. Kids don't have time for old people. I'm sorry, I'm trying to like quick read through everything. Quick reading. Hi, Teresa. It's working great. All right. So I'm going to take this over here. See, now I can at least mobily move you guys around into different. Oop, nope, that's not going to work here. I have front-facing camera on, so let's come down like that. So you can see right here. And obviously I need to press the whole entire border, but we're going to start with a miter. I'm just going to bring it up to the table. Right here so you can see. It's like this. And you can press it to one side or the other, or you can open it. They all work just the same. So here's just to one side, like that. So you can see after pressing, let me come up close. After pressing, it meets up pretty darn good. I mean, there's a little tiny black right there that comes up, but nobody's gonna know the difference once it's quilted. And then right here is laying nice and flat. The seam is pressed to one side, just like that. So it really doesn't matter. We're piecing a border and you wanted one side open and one side closed, you could have done that to make sure that they meet correctly. Is this one that I crossed over? No, this is not one. This is one I started at the seam junction, so I left it open. But it's just pressed to one side, so it all goes up. So let's press this whole entire border while we're right here. And I'm just pressing it towards the border because it's really no big deal which way it goes, honestly. I just feel with my fingers, push it back. There's no need for anything fancy. This is just for my friend anyway. Okay. So here we come up to another mitered border. Put that up onto the table more so you can see it. So see how this one kind of looks like it's bunching, but it really isn't. So I'm going to come right up to it, folding this up. And I'm going to use my finger to see which way the seam looks like it wants to go this way. So I'm just going to use my finger to push the seam that way, the whole entire way up. Pull that out of the way, and I'm spilling water. So there's another one. So again, it's pushed to one side. That's just how it wanted to lay. And there it is. You can see, I think it's just because I didn't open those seams that there's that little piece right there from where they're meeting. Honestly, if I wanted to push it with my finger and iron it, that little black piece would go away. But when it's quilted, that won't even be noticeable. Who actually really stares at these corners, you know? So it's laying nice and flat. Let's see, was this one I took all the way? Yep, this is the one I took the seam all the way beyond. So it kind of folds funny, but it lays pretty flat right here. All right, so let's press this display now. I'm just laying it back and pressing it. There's a lot of threads all over this quilt. And no, it's not bowing. It's just the way I'm holding it on the ironing board so that you guys can see while I press it. Okay. So again, this one's wanting to lay that way. Just like that. And there we have it. Another one. Just iron it. Nice and flat. So see, there's another one. Comes nicely. All right. I think we're on the last side. Maybe. Just trying to like throw it up here and press it, picking up all the threads in my room and the floor. I told you my room is a mess. I'm gonna fix that little piece right there. That's where the seam is, and it doesn't want to lay that way. Typically, fabric wants to lay away from any kind of pieced seams. So that is why I'm just going ahead and pressing all towards the lighter fabric, which is not something I would normally do, but normally I press towards the darks. Oh, look, we have one more side actually. So I only did 3. Look at that. So again, this is going to lay towards that side. Everything's nice and flat. There you go. I think that last miter is done. I just started on it. Lay this up here again. Just rolling this whole seam back so that it lays nice so that I can add the next border when I finally make it. Okay. And that's all in. There we go. Everything's rolled back and wrinkled, but that's okay. Guys. Hey there. Okay, so I'm going to hold the quilt up so that you can see the mitered corners. I don't even think I can reach both ends, so I'll just hold it like this so you can see how much of the difference. If I would have took that black line, you know, straight this way as opposed to, you know what I mean? Adding one border after the other, I think that would have looked really dumb. But I wanted to keep the theme of these going into the borders, which is how the next border is going to go. So there's one side. There's the other. And I think it looks cleaner than building the borders where I would have put this one first, then a thin black, which is really hard to put a 1-inch black border all the way around and then attach another border. So just keep it in mind. If you're going to put 1-inch pieces, it's probably better to miter it in. So there's that. I think it lays beautiful. So I'm going to lay this on the table so that you can see my idea for the next border. I'm just going to lay it here and I'm going to put the weight on it and grab the piece that I already started the other day when I built the border in the first place so that you guys can see how this is going to work. And these will get mitered too if they land correctly, at least. I'm hoping that it lands correctly. I'm going to scoot it over just a little so that you can see how this is going to work. And this is carrying on the theme as well. I don't have enough pieces made. I only have 4 pieces made. So just, oh no, I have 6 pieces made. Awesome. Look at that. So somehow I will have a mitered border here, but I don't know how just yet because the piece is so big. But we're going to pretend for now with me laying it on here. And then I'll hold the camera so you guys can see what I want to do. Okay. So let's turn it around. So to make it even bigger, all the way around, I'm using the pieces from the quilt, or, you know, they're cut to resemble this. So light has a dark and dark has a light all the way around. And I made it with the big ones. So this will be what hangs off the mattress, this part right here, which will look really cool. And then when I attach all of them together, I'll do dark light, dark light, dark light, and then it will just miter in the borders. So these are 10 inches. So this will come at a 100%, you know what I mean? 45-degree angle at the end. So there'll be just a little bit, and then it'll be a 45. I don't even know if I can roll it. Let's see. Let me get it right there. It's batik, so it's easy to line it up. So to be like that at the ends, you know, so I'll hook a bunch of these together and it should line up to where it's like that. So it'll look just like they do right here, but in the borders. And obviously there won't be a gap. This will be over there. It'll be like this. Bam, like that. So what do you guys think? It's kind of big, but that's the suggestion from the person that wants this quilt. So that is what they're going to get, is lots and lots of borders. Okay. All right. So that's what I'm doing. That is the plan for this quilt. So my next step is to not sew anymore right now because I feel like a heart attack coming on of needing to go. I feel full. I'm going to make a bunch of these dark lights, light darks. I'm using Batiks from this package of Tonga Treats. Oops, that's upside down. That's right side up. And I'm just separating into piles of two, a light and a dark. And then I'm chopping them in half exactly because they're 10 squares. So I'm chopping 5 inches. No, 4.5. 4.5 inches, then 1 inch, and then this will be 4.5, which puts a 1 inch strip in the middle. I don't know why I was saying 5. So I chop away 4.5 inches, then I get a 1 inch strip and cut. So 4.5, 1 inch, and then cut. So that makes these. And that's how that'll go on and make a mitered border all the way around, light dark, all the way around the whole entire thing. And with 2 packages of 10-inch squares, I should have enough. And whatever's left over of these will just go into the back of the quilt because this is, you know, their quilts. So I can just do whatever I want with all the leftovers so that I can build with leftovers, all those pieces too or something. So, but for now, I'm going to get off of here, guys. I hope that this helped clear up mitered borders. When I first started, I was like, what? They want me to what? And put a what? How? You know, there's tons of different people that do it in tons of different ways. And after a while, the 3 different ways, I found it easiest just to mark without marking a line, just to cut a 1/4 inch over. And I already have a seam allowance. I just sew along the line and bam, I'm done. So I always pin it though. I mean, you could probably get away with not pinning if there wasn't a bunch of weight holding, you know, if the quilt wasn't so heavy and just falling as you're trying to sew, but you would really have to be holding your pieces. So, but there's mitered borders. I think it looks perfect. I like it, and that's the way it's going to stay. So I'm going to get off here, and I will see you guys all next time I go live. And I'm sorry about the interruption in the middle of the video. I don't even know how that'll upload in the end, but we'll see. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe. That way, I think, like and share my videos. Bye, guys.